A loaded slate in the SEC this weekend. Who's on upset alert? Is it Bama? Is it Georgia? Is it Tennessee? Locked on SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. I am Chris Gordy. He is Chris Marler, our buddy from Locked On Gamecocks and a bunch of other places he works, like the Department of Interior and a bunch of other places he works. Marler, how the hell are you?
I'm good, man. It's going to be a good week of football. I'm excited.
It is. Do you do interior decorating at the Department of Interior?
No, you know, has a good interior design school is Auburn. They have like one of the top defensive. They have one of the top interior decor schools in the country.
They also lead the country in deaf offensive linemen. So that's
what was that?
That was an interesting story this week. They're like, it turns out he can't hear. Like, that's not good when you're offensive. Like, you think that'd come up before?
Yeah, y'all be quiet. Y'all be quiet. We're trying to do something on the field right now.
If the guy's really got problems, we wish him well. But like, goodness gracious, to find that out mid-season, that's why
he can't hear us anyway. That's a joke. That's a joke.
Goodness. All right, let's dive into it. We got plenty to get into. Let's start. Look, I've already been talking. It's Wednesday. I've already been talking a lot about Red River. Let's start with Alabama Mizzou because I'm fresh off seeing J.D. Pickell go on record calling for the upset of Mizzou to upset Alabama. And this is just a weird game, Marler, because you think about Bama. They get embarrassed week one against Florida State. They come back home. They look dominant against Louisiana Monroe, dominant against Wisconsin. And then the last 2 weeks, it's been a lot of hype and build-up. Georgia on the road versus Kirby. They go and they get it done. They play great. And then this past week, the revenge game against Vandy. We're going to make Diego Pavia shut up. And now you go you go on the road to number 14 Mizzou, and I'm like, what's the fodder? Where's the motivation here? I mean, I guess it's a top 15 team on the road, but I'm just like, what's Kalen DeBoer's angle here to fire up the troops and go, we're going to go beat the hell out of them?
When you got a top 15 team on the road, I mean, but that's the fodder is you lost to Florida State so bad in week one, you only have one more mulligan. And Florida State's not doing you any favors. Like, if you lose another game besides Florida State, like, you don't have any conference losses yet, but like there's a path where you could potentially get in the playoff if Florida State somehow gets into the playoff as well, where it's like, oh, that doesn't look as bad. A 9-3 Bama team might be in, but you have one more mulligan. And I think that, like, the thing with Missouri is this is a really, really good football team that people have refused to give a lot of credit to because, one, they refuse to ever give Missouri credit for whatever reason. Two, they have played the 109th ranked strength of schedule. But this is what this game reminds me of. And I'm going to apologize in advance to Bama fans. We're going to test your history knowledge while we're at it, too. In 2010, Alabama played 8 conference games. They opened with like a game against San Jose State. Then they were coming off a national championship. They beat Penn State at home, I think, that year. And then they had whatever else. But they get into the SEC slate, and they have 2 games against top 10 teams to start, and then their last 6 were against teams coming off a bye. All 6 coming off a bye. They opened with a road win at Arkansas, which is a come-from-behind win, huge game against Ryan Mallett, all that kind of stuff. They win in last few moments. Then they get a game against Florida. It's a 1-7. And remember, Florida at the time, you had those back and forth from 08 and 09. Like, it's a massive, massive game. It's a CBS night game. You beat the crap out of them like 31-6. Do you know who they played next?
Was that the Stephen Garcia, South Carolina game?
Bingo. Coming off a bye, they went to a hostile SEC environment in a place that was with a very, very good offensive-minded coach and had figured out a way to scheme you up, and you got down early. Bama's been really good, especially when they get ahead early or they're not down by 2 scores. They held on against Vandy. They forced that turnover, which was really big. But that's the comp that I keep coming back to with this because it's not anything that's bad about Bama. It's just that everyone talks about the gauntlets you have to go through in the SEC. They're in the middle of one right now, but having to get up for the Georgia game with your back against the wall, then have to get back up in a revenge game, that's a lot of emotion to come out with. And this, I wouldn't say it's their toughest test of the 3 games, but Mizzou is going to be very well prepared and very good.
I don't know if there's an Alshon Jeffrey on this team, but then again, Ahmad Hardy might be like, he could go on to the NFL and be a stud NFL running back for years. So he could be the guy, but like, I don't know, man. I guess I'm with you when you point out the strength of schedule thing with Mizzou. Like, okay, they look good. They came back to beat Kansas. Great. Like,
Right.
I just feel like, who have they really been tested by yet? And the way Alabama's playing right now with so much confidence. And what's crazy to me too, Marler, somebody pointed this out, this front seven for Bama isn't like scary. Like, this won't rank up
No.
there, one of their top 10 best front sevens, yet they're getting it done. Justin Jefferson was a tackling machine last week, and
Yeah.
they're doing enough to get it done. I just don't know if Bo Prabula scares me, but Ahmad Hardy, certainly they're going to have to slow him down.
Well, you brought up the Alshon Jeffrey thing, which I think is interesting because I agree with you. Like, the Ahmad Hardy's thing, they have a two-back system there that's been very, very good, but Hardy is the guy like that you need to figure out a way to bring down. Going into Vanderbilt, Alabama they were 80% in a tackling rate, which is the lowest in the SEC going into that game. I don't know what it is now, but I know what it was after 4 games. That's not a great recipe for success against a back that leads the SEC and I believe the country in missed tackles forced from the running back position. Everyone knows who Ahmad Hardy is finally. He's still not getting a lot of Heisman love, even though he should. But you brought up Alshon Jeffrey, and you said we don't know about Bo Prabula. I know they haven't played anybody. I don't know. They don't have a 6'4", 220-pound guy like that necessarily. What they do have is Kevin Coleman, who is coming into this game leading the SEC in receptions with 39. And over the past 2 years, I believe he's at 114 or something like that in the last 2 seasons from 2024 and 2025. And Prabula is leading the SEC in completion percentage at like 75.9. Those are all things. If you can replicate those things, it's what Diego Pavia did to Alabama last year. 80% completion, 2 touchdowns. They don't turn the ball over a ton. I think they have 3 turnovers all season. This is going to be a really, really big test for Alabama going into this game.
Yeah, again, like they may surprise me, and look, that would be a monumental win for Eli Drinkwitz, and God, it's like they still haven't left home yet. They haven't played a road game yet this season, but statistically, they are far and away. I mean, they're number 1 in the SEC in offensive yards per game at 547, and then defensively only giving up 14 points a game. I get it, not the toughest schedule, but they're proving it and doing it. So, what's quick verdict on this one? What's your early read? Do you feel like Bama ekes it out somehow?
No, I don't. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think they lose by 3. I think it's like a 31-28 type game. Now, I mean, they have the talent to do otherwise, right? But I mean, we talked about this game. We haven't brought up Damon Wilson once, the Mizzou edge rusher. I mean, there's so many players in this game that are going to be a huge impact. The secondary, who's the kid that's been in college for 27 years now? It's at safety, Catalan. From Mizzou, they're one of the top pass defenses in the country. Like, statistically speaking, they match up really well. But the biggest thing for me is I think that Missouri's knows their identity more so than Georgia did in terms of if it's 4th and 1, probably not going to put in a 4th string running back to run some play misdirection to the corner like they did with Cass Jones. That with Georgia. They also play to their identity so far much better than Vandy did a week ago. I mean, you look at Vandy coming into that game. They don't give up any sacks. They don't turn the football over. That's been the story of Clark Lee and Diego Pavia for the past 2 years. They end up having 2 turnovers. Like, if they can avoid that, they are going to be able to win this game. And I don't think it's like that far-fetched. I think the wrong team is favored. Like Missouri at home, off the bye. I mean, and Eli Drinkwitz he coaches with a chip on his shoulder always.
He'll have a trick player too ready to be dialed up. It's tough for Bama. And again, Kalen DeBoer, where they've struggled, has been on the road at times.
Right.
Give them credit. They looked incredible at Georgia 2 weeks ago. But, if they lose this, God, there's no margin for error the rest of the way. You feel like they have to probably run the table to get in.
Yeah, but you got to get that 9th conference game in next year, It's just no one's really testing themselves that much.
Right. Give me a quick thought. 3-2 Washington State at number 4 Ole Miss. The thing I find most peculiar about what's going to unravel with Ole Miss, Marler, is Austin Simmons is starting to get healthy. What the hell do they do? Because Trinidad Chambliss has been the story of the season so far. Lane said the other day, Austin's getting close. He's getting close. Well, what happens when he's 100%? What do they do?
I mean, the answer is pretty clear. Trinidad Chambliss is the starter. So I don't know, unless Austin Simmons changed his name to Tobago Chambliss. There's not really this is your starter. He's put up over 1,000 yards in 3 starts. He's averaging over 406 yards of offense in 3 starts. I mean, like, think about that. Like, that's insane. Yeah. So I don't know why you would all of a sudden tinker with that. You like, the schedule is manageable enough to where it's like, you know, you could figure something out. But I think that Lane Kiffin knows more than anything. I know what he has said, and like we said it a couple weeks ago before the LSU game. If he's healthy, he's our starter. That's all well and good. Lane Kiffin has finally turned a corner in his life where he is figuring out ways to right his wrongs and fix mistakes. You talk about the Georgia game last year when he came in after the year before where they got blown out, and he was like, that's the game we have to prove that we can win. He knows how big of a failure last year was to not make it to the playoff, considering the teams they beat and then the teams they lost to. He's not going to make that mistake again.
All right, we got plenty more games to get into with Marler. And by the way, no trouble with Washington State for Ole Miss, right?
No, they're like 128th in like completion percentage allowed. It's really bad.
Yeah, I just wish Ole Miss would play a tougher non-con, but that's just what it is. All right, when we return here on Locked On SEC, we'll go over some of the other bigger games. Georgia, Auburn. We'll preview that with Marler coming up here in just a second. Hey, but first, I want to remind you guys about our friends over at Mazda. Look, Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else, from footwork to breathwork. Athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same attention to how they craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. And just like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. It is Mazda. Move and be moved. If you're thinking of getting a new vehicle, might I recommend our friends over at Mazda? Go check them out today. Today's episode also brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401k, properties, or investments. When you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table, and that's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've been putting off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. They do all the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear visuals, they'll categorize them all for you with your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. We dive back into it with our buddy Chris Marler, previewing the SEC slate coming up this weekend. And Marler, let's get into Red River, number 6 Oklahoma versus unranked Texas. Didn't think that would be a thing. But man, all eyes on John Mateer. Like, what is going to happen with him? Oklahoma, both their practices on Monday and Tuesday indoors. If you've missed Eddie Radosevich's
so good
reports, he's been out in the like the bushes outside the stadium giving reports. But I mean, either they're trying to hide something or they're just playing gamesmanship. But like, I don't know. Our guys that Locked On Sooners seem to think Mateer is going to play. It's just in what capacity.
Yeah, I think he will too. This is a big moment for Oklahoma, and it's not like the goals at Oklahoma are different than Texas. And I want to be clear when I say this. They're the same when you say them out loud. They are, we want championships. We want to compete at championship level. We want to do all those things. One of these programs has been in contention for those consistently over the last 20 years. The other one has almost done it for 2 years in a row. So the idea that Texas came in last year and they were able to get a win over Oklahoma in a big way against an Oklahoma team that was just broken, right? I'm not saying this is Oklahoma's national championship. I'm not saying that it is either, because they have a chance to go in and turn this rivalry back around. And then you start changing the narratives and start talking about, well, we beat them 2 years ago under Venables. And yeah, sure, we lost him with Michael Hawkins when we had the whole, like, losing all your offensive linemen and 5 stars at receiver. But this is what we are at full capacity. You're still little brother, because What should have happened when these two teams came in the conference was it should have been Oklahoma holding the hand of Texas saying, hey, listen, my mom said he's got to come with us. Is it cool if he plays this? He won't be a bother. Trust me. Like, Texas doesn't carry themselves that way, but that's what they are. And so Oklahoma, I think, going into this game, I think Mateer plays that. If he doesn't, I still like Oklahoma because that defense and the way they've been, especially the front four, the fits that Texas' offensive line has had, it's going to be a long day for Arch.
Yeah, and you know, part of me kind of says, what if though Arch has his breakout game here? You know what I mean? What if but I don't know how. Like, it would have to be getting the ball out quick and not giving that defense time to get in the backfield.
What's his best moment? I'm being serious. Is the moment, is it the pass that he had down 22-7 at like the deep ball? I think it was to Wingo. They cut it to 8. Like, I think that's the best ball he's thrown all year.
They've had some plays. They've had some plays of like Andrew on that trick play, like, you know, they've just been off, and some deep balls he's throwing that, man, if he just puts a little bit more on it or underthrows it. So I mean, like, they're close on some of those big explosive plays. It's just inconsistent.
I'm gonna be as nice as I can when I say this. If his name was Lenore Sellers, or his name was Jackson Arnold, or his name was DJ Lagway, actually not Lagway, but the conversation we would be having right now is, he's just not a good passer. He's only a runner. He's an athlete. Like, that's the kind of crap we would be hearing. But since his name is Arch Manning, and since he plays at Texas, the idea is no, he is barely. And you're not wrong. He is barely missing him, but he's missing him. And I can count on one hand how many he's hit. So it's like, you know, there's the Vegas line has me worried because this seems so blatantly obvious.
They've been all over Texas all week.
And they were all over Florida last week. It kept coming down. So like, that part is worrisome. But I just like you. At some point, Texas has to prove they can do it, and they haven't given Arch a ton of help, and he hasn't helped them. So it's just been whatever the opposite of synergy is. It's that.
You like Oklahoma?
Yeah, big.
Real quick, just want to mention Big Tech's scary as hell. I mean, this is the most frightening thing I've ever seen.
Howdy, folks.
Come on in. Let's get to the next one. Number 10, Georgia at Auburn. I'm going to die on this hill, Marler. I've been saying it for the last 2 weeks. I think Auburn's offense gets better at home. I think they look good this weekend. Look, this isn't.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Hold on. I'm looking for the bar. It's pretty low.
Yeah.
No.
Well, look, Georgia, of the Kirby defenses, this is not. Now, it's not their best of the last 5 years. So I'm taking that into account. And we know Jordan-Hare can get rocking. They're retiring Cam Newton's jersey. Like, I think this is the game Auburn's offense gets right. I don't know if they win the game, but I think it's close.
The problem with Auburn that we've come to realize is, like, you see it with LSU. You've seen it with other teams in the past. You've seen it with South Carolina. Well, not really South Carolina. But LSU this year especially is a good example of it. You cannot win in this league if you're one-dimensional. And LSU is one-dimensional almost by choice. They were last year because they couldn't run the ball. They can't really run the ball this year either. Auburn just refuses to hand the football off to running backs. And you would think they have some star at quarterback. They did the same thing with Peyton Thorne. They're doing the same thing now. There's weapons everywhere, dude. There's weapons everywhere, and this is a Georgia secondary that is able to get got. And so, if you could figure out a way to connect on a couple, like if you could hit Cam Coleman early and start like loosening up that defense, so KJ Bolden can start coming down and helping and support. I don't know who. I think it's Denver Harris. Is that who it is? Number 7, whoever it is. I think he was at media days. I know I'm getting the name wrong, but that kid has been abused, I feel like, at times. It's not Denver Harris, is it?
No, Denver Harris is a former LSU kid that was at UTSA, former A&M kid.
Nailed it. Attaboy,
Chris. Jeremiah Cobb, by the way, number 6 in the SEC in rushing yards. You'd think maybe you want to feed that guy more. He has the least amount of carries.
Just give him the ball. Like, I don't know what we're doing.
Of the top 9 rushers in the SEC, he has the least amount of carries, but he's 6th in the SEC rushing.
Now, are you on CFBstats.com right now?
ESPN, but
okay. I was going to say go to 2024 because what you'll see and the disparity between yards per carry and actual attempts with with what they did to
from Dylan Sampson to Jarquez Hunter. Yeah.
Unbelievable. If they can get Cam Coleman on a deep ball early, which he's still, I think, the most talented receiver in this league. Like he's so dangerous. They just haven't been able to connect with him. Listen, this Auburn team is like a couple of those deep balls away. And I think Arnold's been closer on those than Arch has. Like, where if they hit those against Oklahoma, they're probably in a situation where they win that game. And we're talking about them in a much different way. But I go back to this, man. And anytime you're having to sit here and say, hey, how are you going to win this game? And the first answer that almost everyone seems to give them, well, dude, Jordan-Hare is just different. There's some spooky stuff that happens to Jordan-Hare. You're not wrong, but statistically speaking, and the track record that we have, it shows that Georgia owns this series, and Georgia owns Auburn over the past 20 years. So until they prove otherwise, I have to go with Georgia. But this could be like, I'll ask you, like if it clicks, do you think it clicks the rest of the season?
Maybe this could be the game that gets them. But again, that's what I keep saying about Auburn. I'm not selling them because their last two losses were on the road in top 10 SEC environments. So, like, yes, the offense stunk, but I think it gets better at home. But is that enough to win and beat Georgia? We'll see. All right. We got 3 more games to touch on with Marler. We'll hit on those coming up next. Hey, but first, I want to remind you guys about our friends over at Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but over at Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement throughout this football season with Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections. Maybe you want to take Josh Allen's passing yards or more than. Maybe you want to take Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown. You can get in the game. You're going to love how quick it is. You can make your lineup in under a minute. It's also fun to follow other players in the app, copy their lineups with just one click. And the new injury reboot feature. If your player leaves early and doesn't return, it won't count against you. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code LOCKEDONCollege. $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. It is Prize Picks. And of course, it is always good to be right. One more segment with our buddy Chris Marler. And Marler, we got 3 more games to get into. And I kind of group these together as 3 top 15 SEC teams playing unranked teams. Yet it feels like one of these upsets could happen. Let's start with 2 and 3 Florida at number 5 Texas A&M. Florida coming off the huge emotional win over Texas at home. But now they got to go to Aggie Land, where A&M is playing their 3rd straight conference home game. After this, they're going to go on the road for 3 straight SEC games. But A&M kind of turned it up. Their defense has been playing much better at home. Offense a little stagnant. They got it going in the second half against Mississippi State. But I feel like this game means a lot to DJ Lagway, Marler, coming back to the state of Texas. And Dallas Wilson, dare I say, like, difference maker for them on offense. So what is your thought on Florida A&M?
Well, this is the 15th time that Florida has had to go to A&M in the last 11 years. I will not ever figure that out. I don't know why Greg Sankey did that. But I'm a big believer in A&M this year. I hate myself for it, but it seems like we might be – anybody in that camp might actually be right this time, which is kind of shocking. It'll be interesting because this Florida defense has proven they can keep them in most games. The Miami game wasn't a total blowout for most of it. I mean, they kept DJ Lagway, pretty much held to nothing. But I mean, like the 5 interceptions, he's only lost by 10 to LSU. Like I could be bought into them keeping it close. I cannot be bought into them winning. And I think what we're seeing with Kyle Field, and somebody tweeted this the other day, and I thought it was stupid when I first read it, but I see all my tweets too, and I'm like, that probably tracks. So this guy said Texas A&M is somehow becoming cool, and it's like the weirdest development. And I think they might be right, because if you look at like this Texas A&M like program, Kyle Field at night, I thought the blackout was like kind of, we got it, guys. We got it. We know you're doing a blackout. You didn't have to have the milkmen yell leaders come out and say that they were doing the same thing. But like the entrance, the atmosphere, all that stuff, and them getting this new Kyle Field at night type of just chaos and coming out to power, and like it's awesome. It's awesome. So I'm big on A&M. I think they win. Yeah,
it's again, I just wonder is Dallas Wilson, as good as he was, man, just set Florida freshman records, in his first game, a college game played. Is this going to be the start of really opening up this offense with Lagway fully healthy now and feeling good? I joked about it last week that Napier said Lagway had his best week of practice since the spring, because he missed the spring with the shoulder stuff. So it wasn't just hyperbole. The offense looked good. Let's see if that carries over. I think maybe Florida can keep it close, but it feels like A&M's offense will wear them down like they did Mississippi State. How about 2-3 Arkansas at number 12 Tennessee, Marler? Look, it's Bobby Petrino's first game now as the interim head coach. Fired the defensive staff. I think we're going to see this offense and Taylon Green try to put up some points. Yeah. But gosh, you know what I'm seeing online so much, Marler, is the Vol fans are so angry saying Joey Aguilar deserves some Heisman hype. That's what I'm seeing out about. So what do you think about Arkansas and their chances at Tennessee?
Now, I will say I should pump the brakes on anything this week about Joey Aguilar Heisman hype, because Joey Aguilar, his numbers are listen, almost 300 yards per game passing. I'm looking at it right now. 13 touchdowns, great. I think that's tied for second in the SEC. Not a bad completion percentage. But here's the thing. Heisman, what about and I've seen this too, but calm down a little bit. You played Georgia and that's it. That's it. He will have
he played well.
He did. He threw 2 interceptions. He's thrown 5 in his last 3 games. So you have to figure out a way to stop that. But yes, he is a very good quarterback, but the argument should be about, is he a top 5 or top 3 SEC quarterback? Not should he win the Heisman Trophy. That's insane. But he is going to put up some Heisman numbers this weekend. I'll tell you that. This Arkansas defense is garbage. I think it'll be interesting. Taylon Green, if he can put them in good spots early and not turn the ball over, they should be pretty good, especially against a secondary that has been very vulnerable at times. But I don't think they can hang with them for 4 quarters. And also, this is a revenge game after last year. You're coming off a bye. It'll be interesting to see what they do, because you could go one of 2 ways. They could probably take it a little bit easy and not show as much with Bama coming next week.
Aguilar's numbers, very comparable right there with Ty Simpson. So
not the interceptions.
Not the interception. That's the one that he's got more, but he's been less sacked than Ty Simpson.
So what?
1,478, 1,459 in passing yards, and they're both tied with 13 touchdown passes apiece. So yeah, we'll see. This will be a stat patter if Joey Aguilar wants that against this Arkansas D. Last one, it is going to be 3-2 South Carolina at number 11 LSU. We saw Lenore Sellers against LSU last year. He got hurt, and it changed the tide of this game. But this LSU defense seems to be much improved. The question is, will LSU's offense get right coming out of the bye week? I think that's what we're all looking in. Where's Garrett Nussmeier from 2024? Because we haven't seen him this year.
Yeah, this is going to be a confusing one for a lot of people reading the association that I have and then following up with this. I just left the LSU players press conference and had asked a couple questions with some of those guys. And I thought one of the things that was interesting was Braylon Moore, the center for LSU, talking about how they were self-scouting for most of the bye week. They didn't start preparing for South Carolina until Sunday. That's a normal game week and normal game prep, but was still kind of surprised about that. Norris Sellers was on pace for 400 yards in this game and 4 touchdowns. He went out after the second half. I fully believe they win that game if he is still playing or if a ref isn't. And I'll just leave it at that. I think that I can see this going one of 2 ways. I think I could see LSU coming back and really trying to put an emphasis on the run game, which is what I think they're going to try to do. It's what they kind of mentioned, the folks in the offense this week, is trying to force the run game. That's not the best way to beat South Carolina, in my opinion. Ahmad Hardy was able to do it, but there's no Ahmad Hardy on this team. And there's no offensive line that's going to be able to do that against South Carolina. I think Lenore Sellers is going to have a big game. I think that they're going to be able to throw the ball about 30 times, and you're going to see some explosive plays out of this offense coming out of the bye week especially. I don't think that South Carolina is necessarily going to win. I think this is going to be a game that's very close in the fourth quarter, and LSU finds a way to win out because they have better special teams and they're better defensively, top to bottom. But I think South Carolina is going to surprise some people on Saturday. And you can call me biased if you want, but we all know how that game should have gone a year ago, and we also have all watched LSU. This is not a world beater LSU team. So if they try to take this as a get right game, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. That said, if LSU does look better on offense and plays like they have on defense, it'll be a nice win. I think people start buying back into LSU as okay, they're a perennial or a contender to be a playoff team. But I think people are looking at them right now, questioning, if that's right. One more thing on this, I had to go back and look because South Carolina last went to Baton Rouge. I want to say the COVID year, but I was like, hey, Shane Beamer been there because he made that comment this week about, oh, it's gonna be a bunch of drunk Louisianians, whatever. I think 2007 when he was the linebackers coach for South Carolina, outside linebackers coach. I think that's the last time Shane Beamer stepped foot in Baton Rouge.
That was me and Shane hang out here on the weekends. He came to visit on the bye week. Yeah. We went and played Webby golf course down the street from the house. No, he's like that 2007 game was fantastic. That was the flip over the head from what's his name, the kicker. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think that what he said, I saw a few people get upset about it because can't prepare for that many drunk Louisiana people. Like he's not wrong. There's nothing like Baton Rouge. Like there's nothing like Tiger Stadium. So it'll be loud in a lot of places. It will not be drunk and loud like that at anywhere.
Yeah, wear that as a badge of courage, brother. All right, that is good to do for this edition of Locked On SEC. Hey, for your second listen, you can check out College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season on Fire TV with Gary Patterson. A really cool breakdown. He is Chris Marler, Locked On Gamecocks. We'll talk to you next week. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow right here on Locked On SEC.
Bye.